Welcome to my world history notes, where I read from the book I wrote to teach homeschoolers, A Bible Believer Looks at World History, which you can purchase on lulu.com, at amazon.com, the Bible Baptist bookstore. Just follow me here. And if you ever mind, please subscribe to my channel. Now, you won't agree with what I say. I'm from the perspective of a Bible believer, not a fundamentalist, not a Catholic, not a, anybody else. So you might even be offended by what I say, but the important thing is that you are studying world history and that you have your own conclusions that you've drawn from your study. So I hope you will study, even if it's just to show that I'm wrong because you believe that something I said is wrong. So we're actually in the latter part of the 1800s, talking now. So during this time, the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, which well, actually the 1800s, let's just say that. During this time, Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, which had been suppressed by Pope Clement the 14th in 1773, were reinstated by Pope Pius the 7th in 1814. Their success in derailing the Reformation is attested to by their establishment of many Jesuit colleges and universities, in which many Protestant scholars and personalities like Norman Geisler and Bob Jones IV have been indoctrinated. In 1846, the longest reigning pope in Roman Catholic history, Pope Pius IX, took control. His reign, called a pontificate, lasted from 1846 to 1878. During his time, the papacy lost its control over what was called the Papal States and called the First Vatican Council. He established the Catholic dogma of the Immaculate Conception of Mary, and that she was free from the stain of original sin, so was sinless, like the Lord Jesus Christ. This heresy was added to the dogma of papal infallibility he established formally, that stated that the Pope was incapable of error. In the political realm, he fought against anti Catholic laws in many heavily Catholic countries. And according to General Thomas Harris of the committee that investigated the assassination of President Lincoln in his book, Rome's Responsibility for the Assassination of Abraham Lincoln, and Charles Chineke in his 50 Years in the Church of Rome, he oversaw the flooding of the United States with immigrants from poor Roman Catholic countries, and a strategy of taking control of this country and derailing the intents of the founding fathers. General Harris goes on to accuse this pope and his church in his 1897 book of the assassination of early 19th century presidents, Harrison and Taylor. General Harris, a highly respected military person of the 19th century, was not attacked so much for his accusations as he was ignored after creating a small stir. Many other authors have come out with the same statements, and it's difficult to say if they all arrived at it by independent study or from the same sources. It's acknowledged that by all that President Lincoln was mystified at the Pope's acknowledgement of the legitimacy of the Confederate President Jefferson Davis as a sovereign leader of a country after the Battle of Gettysburg, which supposedly resulted in a high desertion rate for formerly loyal Irish Catholic troops. The United States had been dedicated to the Virgin Mary in Baltimore in 1846 as well. At this point in history, 1850 or thereabouts, England is the most powerful nation on earth and claims as its own more territory than any empire in the history of mankind. It's not only a powerhouse political machine, but vying for control of the world spiritually with the Roman Catholic Church and its Anglican Church of England, the spiritual justification of its empire, and in its many other churches and missionary societies. Truly, it will soon be said that the sun never sets on the British Empire, as it is the first global empire whose navy literally controls the seas and whose army seems unstoppable. Great Britain has risen from a third rate power vying for position after losing all of its continental territorial claims to being the greatest empire in the history of the world. Its navy patrols the seas, and its missionaries search out the jungles of Africa and Asia. From Captain James Cook's exploration of what is now Australia and the Pacific Ocean islands in the late 1700s to the great missionaries of the late 1800s, the theme of Rule Britannia dominated the world in the 1800s. Next, we're going to explore the latter half of that century before moving on into the 1900s, the 20th century. But there's some things in the last few sections that we should know. We should have an idea. I'm just going to bring a couple of them out. You should have an idea. What British admiral led his naval forces to victory at the Battle of Trafalgar? At what battle was Napoleon finally defeated? In 1815, the powers that be met at what Congress to redraw the map of Europe? What great African warrior people, beginning under Shaka, challenged both the Boers and the British? What war was fought by the British against the Chinese to force the latter to allow the sale of opium to its people? Who is normally created with writing the Communist Manifesto? And who is the longest reigning pope in Roman Catholic history and is associated with the doctrines of papal infallibility and the Immaculate Conception of Mary? So you should have a handle on those things, just to be conversant. We're going to get into the 1851 and on, um, and it's going to be very interesting. We're getting closer to our modern era. A lot of things happening. So I hope you'll watch and listen, and I hope you'll form your own opinion. I don't care if you disagree with me. That doesn't bother me at all. I just want you to have an opinion. I want you to study, to be interested in world history. It's just extremely important just to have a base. I'm not saying you should be an expert. I'm not an expert or anything, but you should just be able to, when something happens on the news, you should go, oh, I know where that came from. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this and much as I do doing it, and I hope you have a great day.